Calgary Flames have a golden opportunity to grab their star forward of the future, but the only real way to do this at this point is to add by subtraction. The Flames currently have multiple players that could fetch a boatload in a trade, so the real question is, why not shoot for the moon and land a young stud? We're going to get to all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and YouTube is telling me that only around 35% of the people watching are subscribed. So if you could do me that favor, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. We gotta stay ahead of Oilers Digest. They're catching up, and we do not need that. But let's hop into, I guess, an interesting way to kind of intro this is that the Flames are in a really tough division, and maybe the thing to do is to kind of, let the big dogs fight it out for a little, and then, the Flames can build for the future a little more. But we have a very interesting article here. It was actually originally from the Hockey News. I grabbed it from Yahoo Sports, but it's written by Brian Wilson, so all credit due to him. But he writes, are the Flames falling behind in the Pacific Division arms race? The Flames, as we know, they don't have as many stars as some of the teams in the rest of the division, let alone the rest of the league, of course. I mean, you think of course, the Oilers. Second time I mentioned the Oilers already. Gosh, what a terrible video. But they have guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, of course. Even teams like Vancouver, they have your Quinn Hugheses and, your Petterssons when they're hot, stuff like that. And Vegas is Vegas. LA is looking like they're always on the up. And then teams like, San Jose, Anaheim, they're definitely, have been bottom feeders but are building for the future. And the Flames kind of seem to be falling behind in all of that, which is very interesting, but there is a little bit of a golden opportunity in here that we will get into later. But the Pacific Division arms race isn't slowing down, it's ramping up. Every summer, it feels like the pace in the West gets more difficult to keep up with. Right now, the Calgary Flames are doing their best to hold steady in a division full of heavy hitters. The Vegas Golden Knights went out and landed Mitch Marner, a blockbuster swing that keeps them firmly in all-in mode. And it is true, Vegas once again should kind of claim the division, you would think, this upcoming year. Edmonton remains Edmonton as long as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl wear Oilers jerseys. They should be a perennial contender. I mean, as they've been to the last two Stanley Cup finals. Vancouver added Evander Kane and already has Thatcher Demko, Quinn Hughes, and Elias Pettersson leading the charge. They have how many Petterssons on that team? When Demko is healthy and if Pettersson can find his game again, the Canucks are as dangerous as anyone. I don't know if I agree with that one, but no, it is true. They do they're a little bit more built for the future, I guess we can say. Even the so-called rebuilding teams are stockpiling weapons. San Jose has a future superstar in Macklin Celebrini, who just spent time this summer learning from Sidney Crosby with Team Canada. That experience should only sharpen his game in year 2, and his growing chemistry with Will Smith is going to be must-watch hockey. So yes, even San Jose is on the up and up, a team that has been so bad for so many years. They, you can agree, have more arms, have better weapons, have a better arsenal than the Calgary Flames right now, at least in terms of contending for the future. Anaheim's Mason McTavish is trending upward and looks ready to take another step, while Chris Kreider will add some much-needed veteran depth. Will McTavish even be a Duck? A new article or a new report just came out today saying that they might be far apart in contract talks once again, but who knows. In LA, the Kings remain a force loaded with talent like Anze Kopitar, Kevin Fiala, Adrian Kempe, and a rising Quinton Byfield. They've made the playoffs every year. They just lose to Edmonton all the time. Seattle might not be flashy, but their balance and depth keep them in playoff conversation. Not too sure about that. Seattle's kind of, I would say, on the same level as Calgary, maybe even a worse spot. Acquiring Mason Marchment from Dallas was a sneaky good add. For that price, though, not too sure. So where does that leave Calgary? That is kind of the main thing here. The Flames are still early in a retool, but the challenges are obvious. They need more depth down the middle, especially after this season. Cole Reshny is an exciting prospect, but he's not likely to solve that issue just yet. We hope he turns into, an A1 bona fide superstar, future Hall of Famer, of course, but it's not something you can quite bank on. So the Flames in this tough division, a tough Western Conference because the Central is arguably better than the Pacific, it's kind of tough to keep up in certain ways. They don't have just that superstar that they thought they had when they were obviously acquiring Huberdeau. But, there's ways to acquire someone. It isn't always by drafting them first overall. So the Flames have a golden opportunity here, and a lot of people speak about it a lot of the time, and it might be obvious to some, but it can certainly be done. So how can they do this? The big question is whether the Flames can find a true star forward to match the firepower around the Pacific. Could a Rasmus Andersson trade be the only realistic way to add that piece? It's not an easy puzzle to solve, but where the Flames currently are right now, the best way to add is to subtract. You're subtracting your Rasmus Andersson. I'm going to get into, a little way we could do it by subtracting maybe Nazem Kadri as well. The Flames have some players they could trade that could fetch a lot in a trade right now. And there's a crazy, potential trade or a trade proposal I saw that involved MacKenzie Weegar, which I don't think the Flames would ever trade him away. I don't know what would have to happen in Calgary next season for that to happen. But that's the way they can do it right now. Not only, grabbing maybe, a first round pick, because who knows where that could end up being in the draft. You want it to be at least top 5, but going for one of those, really good, either young NHL forwards that Craig Conroy really wants, or a really good prospect that's young and fits the position. But let's get in. So here's the trap. The Flames cannot afford to drift into the mushy middle. We're very comfortable here. Drafting high means finishing low, but a throwaway season won't fly with management, nor should it, even though Gavin McKenna is draft eligible in 2026. Calgary has to find a way into the playoffs rather than living just outside the wild card cut. That's the hard part of a retool, being competitive now while still building for later. And it seems to be, a broken record at this point where that seems to be the Flames ever since the Huberdeau trade, essentially. The good news, though, so Calgary might have the ace up their sleeve in net. Dustin Wolf is more than just the goalie of the future. He's the goalie of right now. That gives Calgary something few other teams have, a young, homegrown starter with superstar potential. And that's fantastic. We've seen teams with superstar goalies go quite far in recent history. We've also seen teams win the cup when they have pretty much a nobody in net. Patience is part of the plan, but patience gets tested quickly in a division stacked with stars and contenders. The Flames don't need to win the arms race overnight, and General Manager Craig Conroy has done a good job stocking the stables, but they do need to show progress and avoid standing still while everyone else speeds ahead. And it's a tough position to be in. Anyone who's a Craig Conroy hater at this point, you don't realize what tree living left him, It's a difficult situation. Are the Flames good? Are the Flames bad? Do they have some good contracts? Do they have some bad contracts? It's a funny situation, but definitely, as it was kind of posed in this article, the best way to add, especially for the future, is, of course, by subtracting now. And a Rasmus Andersson trade, of course, is the best way to do it. But I don't know how that would look. Feel free to drop some trade proposals in the comments with some Rasmus Andersson trades, but there's one interesting one that I found from an article. I believe it was from the Win column, and it showed this trade that involves Kadri. Now, this article went over a bunch of, armchair GM trade proposals over the summer, and a lot of them are just, your summer trades that you throw, and that's where the Weegar one was. But this one's extremely interesting. So a trade with the Detroit Red Wings that sees Kadri go to Michigan, Nate Danielson come to Calgary, which is, clearly the key piece, and then also a 2026 second round pick. Now, this is an extremely interesting trade proposal. So here's what was said by the author of this article. They said, this would surely be a move that gets Steve Yzerman canned, right? Interesting. I mean, trading away a 20-year-old right shot center, perfect. That's exactly what we want. For a 35-year-old veteran, doesn't scream smart move. This could be the part of the Yzer plan that everyone has been waiting for. It's the unexpected move that ends the playoff drought, or it's the inevitable make a move to get into the playoffs and save your job. So that's kind of talking about it, I guess, more so from Detroit's perspective, but it is interesting. Oh, sorry, skipped ahead there. Nate Danielson's elite prospect scouting report has my attention. A creator of rush offense, building speed beneath the puck, charging through the neutral zone with possession, carving the ice up with powerful, agile crossovers, and turning the corner on opposing defensemen. Sounds great, exactly what we want and what we need. So the verdict, desperate times call for desperate measures. Call up Conroy and he'll help you out. Sure, why not? And that could be a golden opportunity there. Nate Danielson, no, he's not a Gavin McKenna, but he's a really, really good prospect. And if that's someone on Calgary's radar, that's amazing. Would you give up Kadri for that? I know some people might think, I want more for Kadri. His value's so high. He just had 35 goals, and you're absolutely right. But we've seen what kind of trades happen. We've seen the trade market lately. This could be almost as good as it gets, throwing in that second round pick as well. Maybe try and go for a first round pick, but especially if Detroit is just finally wanting to make the playoffs. They don't care about the future as much, but it's Overall, a very interesting proposal, and either way, the Flames do have a golden opportunity here to get that player that they want. They would just, of course, have to subtract, make some sacrifices from the current team in order to build for that future. But either way, the future looks bright, but getting that A1 prospect could be the key to success in the future. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. I gave you a quick flash of it earlier, but it comes from yesterday's video that was also kind of about the future. It was about prospects for sure, ranking in 10th daily faceoffs prospect rankings. But Wheel of Time here, I think, said it perfectly. They said, I know we take top 10, but still our prospect pool is definitely the most underrated in the league. Our depth is top 3 for sure. We just don't have a superstar forward. And there you go. Here's a way you can solve that problem to get that superstar forward. But it is true. The Flames have such a good prospect pool. You just don't have that, A1 guy like a Celebrini or even McDavid or whoever. But either way, very exciting times are ahead, and hopefully all does pan out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.